Welcome back, YouTube, to World Sports Culture TV. Today I'm going to be doing a 2026 World Cup review and really going over about how we hosted it in the States and the effects that it had on America and the landscape of European football. Hope everybody's having a great day and hope everybody's enjoying the content that I'm putting out. And if you're here to listen to my content and what I have to say, drop a comment, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Would love the interaction, trying to grow this page as much as I can. So, with that being said, let's get started. The World Cup this year in America, I thought the Americans did a great job hosting this World Cup. And Canada and Mexico, the other supporting nations, the other host nations, I should say. I believe that it created an electric atmosphere for a lot of the European fan base, a lot of the South American fan base, African nation fan base. There were a lot of different fans from other countries coming over here and doing blogs and Instagrams and all types of social media presence on their experiences of the States, from having things like ranch for the first time or different IPA beers or different pubs that they were going to, and also the hospitality from the Americans. Really, not a lot of bad things to say from the Europeans about the Americans, which is a beautiful thing to see. You know, I'm all about people getting along and being culture appropriated and respecting each other's cultures and getting to know different things about the world that we live in. I think that's super important, and I think it's a great part of European football how the world's game can bring people together. You know, I can speak to people from England, Spain, Argentina, France, Norway about European football, and we hit it off right away. Even Nigerians. I helped a Nigerian boy the other day, and he seemed a little shy to me, and I basically just saw him have a soccer ball in his crock, and I said, "Listen, what's your favorite sport?" He said soccer, and I told him, "Okay, well, who's your favorite player?" He said Victor Osimhen, and he was expecting me not to know who that is, but I know who that is. He plays on Galatasaray. I wanted him to come to my team a little while ago, and he's one of the best strikers in the world currently. Always performs in Champions League. And I hit it off with the young man, and I made him feel comfortable around me, and then I was able to help him. With what I was doing for him. So I think, being culture appropriated and respecting people's different cultures and, really getting to know what other people are into when it comes to either food, music, sport, anything of that nature, I think is a super important part of, being a cohesive, functioning person in this world. So I love that about European football. It's probably one of my favorite things about the game. Now, as far as the World Cup, this year we didn't really get a lot of Cinderella stories. I would say probably the biggest upset was Paraguay, I believe, beating Germany. And besides for that, there really weren't a lot of upsets in the World Cup. And as far as fanhood and likeness and somebody really growing their name, I thought Erling Haaland really stood out this World Cup. It seems that he grew a massive fan base here in America. A lot of people love Erling Haaland and really can relate to him because he's kind of a down to earth guy. His social media presence, he has tons of funny memes and stuff of that nature. So I think Erling Haaland was the winner when it comes to gaining the most fans and really bringing the spotlight to his stardom from this World Cup. And, it doesn't hurt that he was, one of the leading scorers in the World Cup. He was banging goals consistently, and he looked a real threat. And he really kind of put Norway on the map as well. Norway had a great World Cup. Nothing to slouch about or nothing to hang their heads about, really. So I thought Erling Haaland did a great job, and I thought Vinicius Jr. really put himself on the map for Brazil this year. He's been kind of criticized for how he performs for the national team, but it really seemed like he kind of stepped into his own and became the leader of the Brazilian squad this year, bagging a couple goals and really having some strong performances for Brazil before they got knocked out eventually. Jude Bellingham. I thought Jude was by far the best player on England. We went super far. Jude had those big brace against Mexico at the Azteca, famous game that's going to come out to be. And I thought Jude really put himself on the map as one of the world's best right now. Really proves that he belongs in that, Madrid team, English national team, and really at the pinnacle of world football right now. Couldn't, put my hat off more to Jude Bellingham. I thought he had a great tournament. Lionel Messi, I thought he continued to put the stamp of approval on the fact that he is the GOAT. Messi had an unbelievable tournament at age 38, looking timeless. That Argentina team really works their heart out for him, I should say. and I thought he had a great tournament, scored a couple worldy goals, and made it all the way to the final, only to be trumped by the boy that he gave a bath to at 17 years old, Mr. Lamine Yamal. And nothing to be ashamed of. Spain is the best team in the world right now, and they won the Euros recently, and now the World Cup, and I think it's proven that Spain, like history has shown, that they are easily one of the best footballing nations in the world, and currently the best footballing nation in the world right now. So I don't think Messi has anything to hang his head down about. Although the way Argentina acted at the end of that game, very shameful. I thought they were poor losers, and definitely put a dampening on their bright light that they had on their team for the success that they had, because they didn't act like former champions, and they didn't act like gracious losers. They were very poor. So that's an example of what not to do when you're when you lose a match, or you lose a tournament. I don't think you should act like that. I don't think there should ever be any fisticuffs and stuff of that nature. Now, as this World Cup went on, like I said, there was really only one Cinderella story, or one upset for a quick game. Shouldn't even call it a Cinderella story, just an upset. But as you saw, the cream kind of rose to the top. France, England, Spain, Argentina being the final four teams. They were kind of the four favorites going into the tournament. So I guess it was kind of chalk when you want to talk about how it panned out. England really had a good tournament, but I don't think they were aggressive enough, and they didn't bring enough creative players into the lineup. I have a lot of gripes with Thomas Tuchel's team selection, leaving guys like Cole Palmer and Phil Foden home. So it is what it is. We got that 1-0 lead against Argentina, and then we kind of sat back for the last 30 minutes, and it proved to be a diabolical decision. Thomas Tuchel ended up getting another contract renewal, or it was confirmed that he will be our coach for the Euros as well. So not too thrilled about it, but hopefully he learns from his lessons. Any team in sports, whether it's fighting or team sports or tennis, if you have a person or a team on the ropes and you don't go for the kill, you're going to get punished. Teams come back hungry, after being down. It's like being a trapped animal. You're going to do whatever you can to fight back and get yourself untrapped or get yourself into a better situation. And to do that against a team like Argentina, where they have, world beaters at, almost every position, guys like Messi, Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, Enzo Fernandez, Thiago Almada, guys like this who can, change a match on a flip of a coin. You can't play not to lose. You have to attack. You have to go to win the games. You play to win the game. And that's how every sports person, team should operate when they're in a match, when they're in a game, when they're in a fight, when they're in a set, anything of that nature. So it was deserved by Argentina to beat England. They did what they had to do, and they also proved why they are the former champions of the world. No quit mentality. Now, as far as Spain, they kind of started the tournament slow. They got a draw coming out to, I forget who it was, but I believe it was like Cabo Verde, something like that. They got that first draw, and they weren't looking too good. And they honestly didn't look too creative the whole tournament, but they have the best defense in the world. So defense wins championships. That's what people here in the States say. So it's proven that that was to be true. Spain, amazing defense. When they played France, they completely shut France down. They were able to nick a goal against France, and then really, took it from there and really kind of punished France, and had a really good game against the French, who were considered one of the strongest teams in the world. And then they went on to that final to not concede at all and hold a clean sheet. And, when you hold clean sheets, you're going to win games. So I think it was well-deserved by Spain. Congratulations to them. I thought this World Cup was amazing. I thought all the host nations did a really good job at hosting the games. I thought the American culture and the Americans did a great job of embracing people from other countries coming in to enjoy the games. There wasn't a really lot of fights or anything in the news, stuff of that nature at games where people were getting reckless and stuff like that. So really proud of my country for hosting a great World Cup. And I really hope that this World Cup gets more Americans involved in European football and into the beautiful game, watching more club football like the Premier League, like the La Liga, like Bundesliga, Italian Serie A, the French League One, stuff like that. Because I know I'm a massive advocate of those leagues, and even other leagues like the Eredivisie and stuff like that. I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I'm a big advocate for European football. I think it's the most cultured game in the world. I think it brings the most people together, and I think it's the best game. One thing about European football that not a lot of Americans understand is like the relegation system here in the States, where if your team comes in last, you don't really get penalized. There's no financial penalty towards clubs or franchises. There's no penalties towards teams in general. Where if you become last, you get the first pick to help bring your team up as much as possible. Where in European football, if you come in last or you finish bottom three, you get relegated. There's big, financial penalties for your club. You lose players and stuff like that. So I think the cutthroat nature of European football makes it the great game, and it makes every game matter. Where here in the States, the regular season, you can not finish first, but end up still winning the title of being, World Series champion or NBA Finals champion, stuff like that. Where in European football, it's all about how you do during your league. And then there's other multiple tournaments within the season where you can win other cups. Now, you've seen that adopted in the NBA, where they have the in-league season tournament, where you can win a trophy for the in-season tournament, and you could also win the title of being best in the season, or best in the league, I should say, because you have to win in the playoffs. So you could kind of see that European football is kind of starting to rub off on American sports. But like I said, the World Cup is the best tournament, in my opinion, that and the Champions League. And I thought it was a great World Cup. I thought it brought a lot of awareness to the game here in the States. And I thought it was really well done. And it was electric. It really put the sports world on the map for the summer. Usually summertime is kind of dead for sports. You have all the European leagues in the transfer window, and they're really just kind of trying to rebuild. You have American sports all out except for baseball. So it's usually just a dead period in sports where only American baseball is going on. And to have the World Cup to, watch every day and watch these guys really put on their, displays of their ability and their talent. And also the pride that you have for like rooting for your different countries, your different heritages and stuff like that, I think does a world of good for European football and the world, and everything that is supposed to be, culture appropriation. So I hope everybody enjoyed the World Cup as much as I did. I hope everybody really got to see what these big stars do. The guys like Harry Kane, your Erling Haalands, your Jude Bellinghams, your Vinicius Juniors, your Hakimi on PSGs, your Cristiano Ronaldo's doing their last dance, your Messi's probably doing their last dance, your Luka Modric doing their last dance for Croatia, stuff like that. And then also witnessing the next generation of the absolute, legends that are to be, like the Lamine Yamals, the Kylian Mbappe's, the Ousmane Dembele's, and stuff like that. So just wanted to give you guys a little World Cup review of what I thought kind of happened in the World Cup, where really the cream kind of rose to the top, and you just saw the best of the best fight it out in that last, semifinals, quarterfinals, and final to be. And with the result being Spain, the best defense in the world, with some of the best midfielders in the world, and really one of the best football heritages in the world and in the past and history of football. Spain has always been a powerhouse, so they brought the World Cup home in 2026. Congrats to Spain. Congrats to Lamine Yamal, Rodri, Pedri, the goalie, Simone. He was unbelievable. I think he's probably the best sweeper keeper in the world right now. I thought his goaltending was phenomenal throughout the whole World Cup. And, we give a bow to Messi. He goes out in the final. I believe he finished as the Golden Boot. I'm not quite sure, though. If not, he was right there. But yeah, Messi having another great tournament, really showing his GOAT-esque in the tournament. And I thought it was a really, really nice World Cup, one of the better ones in recent years. So hope everybody enjoyed it like I did. Hope everybody's well, stay happy, and I hope you guys have a great summer. Be well.